You are now listening to the Sporting Experience Podcast.
Don't blush, baby.
Hello and welcome to the Sporting Experience Podcast. I'm your host, Brandon Savage, and I'm joined here by a very special guest. So this is probably a different kind of guest for the regular sports fan, but if you've come from the Supercoach Experience, you'll know who this guy is. The Supercoach Whisperer, Josh Strange. We're going to call you Josh today, Whisperer. So how are you, Josh?
I'm good, mate. Good. Thank you for having me on.
I'm very excited to have you on. You do have a very interesting story. So without further ado, let's just get straight into it. So starting off, actually, no. Let's start with who you are online. Online, you are the Supercoach Whisperer. So Supercoach is pretty much, it's fantasy rugby league. And this year you've come onto the scene. You've become pretty much the premium content creator besides the Daily Telegraph, and I could argue that the Daily Telegraph aren't even on your level at the moment. How has it been bursting onto the scene in the Supercoach world? And just tell us a bit about that.
Unreal. Like, it's for Supercoach is such a small game. Like, compared to other fantasy sport games, like, we've only got an audience of about 140,000. And I've always said from day one, I'm a Supercoach player because of the SC experience, or back when it was the Mike and Sav show. And I just thought, like, there wasn't many doing what I guess I do. I've always said I'm a podcast second, but the visual side of things first. There wasn't many that were putting out, I guess, posts on social media. A lot of podcasts, and they're fantastic, but I think it was a market that I guess I tapped into that helped blow up huge. But you're right, like, the following that was gained was rapid. I remember sitting with some friends in December and said, hey, I'm going to do this just for a bit of spare time. Like, I was off work with my eyesight, which we'll touch on eventually. But I just said, if I can get 500 followers, like, that'd be awesome. I never had plans of doing a podcast, never had plans of doing anything. But yeah, we're at about 10,000 now across all platforms, and mental. But yeah, I always credit, I guess, the inspiration to you, to Tim Williams and the Playbook guys. I think they're the pinnacle. Very kind words from you to introduce me, but I still hold myself accountable in terms of what I want to put out, the product that I want to put out. There's you and there's Timmy, and they're probably the two that I mold myself off moving forward.
Well, I really appreciate that as a compliment. So firstly, thanks. Secondly, I mean, us at the Supercoach Experience, we really tried to do that. It was just, we found it hard to really nail a type of format, but you came along and you just knew exactly what you were doing. Did you have any inspirations for that? I know you're quite close to the Rugby League Guru. Did he influence you in that sort of regard?
Yeah, definitely. He got my foot in the door. I'll always say that. Like, to get a leg up from an account with as many followers as he did was awesome. I remember that the day I made the page, he chucked it up, and I got like 300 followers off the bat. So that's a huge advantage. But I guess you've got to make those connections in the social media sphere. You've got to have the ability to connect with other people. And I know that you and I started off pretty touchy. I think there was a sort of a mindset of, a new guy here, let's just stand back, which is totally understandable. Like, I'm now the same with other guys that come to me, but yeah, being able to talk to Nathan, aka the Rugby League Guru, and then after being, I guess, introduced to the community and the guys that make content, obviously we have a couple of group chats, and learning from them has been fantastic. Another one that I will give a huge shout out to is Wilfred. He has been one of the best people to talk to. I cop a lot of stuff online, like a lot of DMs and stuff, and he's such a cool head to be able to go to and be like, hey, look, I'm struggling to deal with this kind of criticism and whatnot. So there's definitely a lot of people that I took inspiration off and definitely lean towards in terms of some support.
Hey guys, TopSport and the Supercoach Experience have teamed up this summer for the BBL. TopSport will be offering exclusive BBL markets which will be handpicked by us every single round. So to make sure you get these exclusive offers, please sign up to TopSport using the code SC Experience. Using this code ensures they know that you're coming from us and they'll take real good care of you. Over 18, gamble responsibly. Make sure to jump on, have a punt with the lads and be a TopSport. It's definitely a really good community, and people like Wilfred, like you don't understand their real value in the community till things like that happen. I got to admit, we at the start were a bit shaky. Like we did a lot of podcasts together. We got along well, and we did podcast well, but it was so. I think it was so hard to process having
just some tension. There was like a little bit of tension there, and we'll both admit that.
Yeah, of course. I think we'll kind of. Like, for me, it was subconsciously, like, I never thought it in my head, but I think definitely subconsciously, I thought, this guy's competition. And I think maybe you may have thought the same thing somewhat. Probably not as much because there was less pressure on you because you're starting out and there's no expectation for you to get as high and as successful as you got. But as that went on, I think... everybody started to accept you because obviously it was a bit harder at the start. How was that process? Like, was there more hate than you expected online with the Supercoach Whisperer?
Yeah, definitely. Like, I'm very, I'm not going to say controversial, but like, I think you'll vouch this. I don't sit on the fence.
Yeah.
Like, if I feel something, I'll say it. And that rubs people up the wrong way. And I understand that. And I've gone through swings where I've gained and lost hundreds of followers in days because of stuff that I've put out. And this year's been fantastic. It's been a great learning experience in terms of like what people want from the page and from me and then from the other guys as well. So like this year has been great in a sense that it was a trial for me. I didn't expect it to go as well as it did. But yeah, you'll learn a lot. And there was a lot of consequently, like I thought I have to appease everyone. Like I've got to keep everyone happy. I can't ruffle feathers, and you quickly learn that's not gonna happen. And I was very much against like blocking people and stuff because I was so fixated on that number, like the followers and anyone that makes content is like they are. Like they think about it. It may not be conscious on their mind, but they do think about it. And now like towards the end of the year, mate, I was just like, if you're gonna annoy me and continue like just send me shit, like I'm just gonna block you. Like I don't care. And that was a big step for me, I think, is learning to deal with that criticism in a way that I don't have to respond to it.
Yeah, for sure. I feel like once you, you exceeded your expectations quite quickly. So maybe just that pressure of feeling like you needed to please people kind of went away. So
I also don't deal with criticism well, just from a personal standpoint. There was multiple times where like I'd receive like a really nasty message and I'd just be like sitting in my office being like, oh, fuck, I'm just gonna cancel the page. Like, but it's a passionate community, like, and like people, just because, and you will vouch for this. Just because we make stuff about the game doesn't mean that we're the best. You know, like
no,
we're just guys that have much spare time or love the game a lot, and we just decide to chuck some things up. That's the big thing. I think people struggle to understand it in a way.
Yeah, 100%. Okay, so we've talked a little bit about that. There's a lot to go through today. Let's start with your childhood. Where were you born? Where did you grow up? And how was your life from, let's say, 0 to 10?
I was born in Logan, Queensland, Camp Smith, his territory. Lived there for 6-7 years, sort of in and around the Brisbane area. Grew up not really having a team, but always being down at the Brisbane Leagues Club and always seeing guys like Wendell Saylor, Darren Lockyer, Shane Webke, like all those guys in sort of the early 2000s. I was born in 97, so around that time where the Broncos were good. And then we moved as a family down to Tamworth in New South Wales, and that's where I grew up basically my whole life until I was 18. So lived there, had a really good childhood, had parents that I guess earned above average income, so was never without a meal, like always had the things I wanted, always went on school excursions, always had clothes on my back, the main things you can ask for as a child, basically up until that stage of my life.
So obviously pretty smooth childhood till there. How was high school? And I guess this is a sporting experience podcast. So did you play many sports? I feel like I didn't even preface this with did you play sports? Even if you didn't, you're part of the sporting world, so I think that's enough for me.
No idea. I was one of those kids when I was younger. I just play every sport, paddle, ball, whatever. Moving into high school, that was a rough time for me. A lot of bullying, a lot of self confidence issues, a lot of anxiety that sort of developed and manifested, and never really got a handle on that, and therefore a lot of things magnituded. I found some solace in rugby in terms of union. Played that, I guess, at a reasonably high level. I played for New South Wales Country, basically up until New South Wales Schoolboys. Played at a pretty high rep level from anywhere from 16 to 18, but they were probably the toughest years of my life. I went to an all-boys school, and I don't really think I ever fit in properly in a sense that as a child, I was very annoying, and I probably still am now, but even more so. I was very in your face, like very energetic, and rub people up the wrong way, and that still continues on to this day, but you can manage it a little bit better, and I think that had me on the outside in high school, and if we're being honest, like it really set things up for turmoil later in my sort of early 20s. But yeah, you learn from those experiences. But yeah, high school probably wasn't the best for me, but found comfort in sport and definitely in rugby union. But always was a league fan, coming from, I guess, regional New South Wales. That's where we lived. It was a big league, central. Yeah. But I guess I just had a natural talent for rugby union.
Who was your favourite NRL player growing up? I know you said you play rugby union, but honestly couldn't tell you a rugby union player besides George Gregan.
George Gregan's a good shout. I was a Tigers. I'm a Tigers fan. I think a lot of people know that. So going through that sort of late 2000s, early 2010s, it was ruled by one person. That was Benji Marshall, basically, at one time the best football player in the world. And as a young kid, just really attracted me to him. And unfortunately, didn't get the premiership this year that I guess a lot of rugby league neutrals were hoping for. But as a Tigers fan, mate, he was everything. I was a short little fat kid. I was definitely not tanned, athletic, and a very talented footballer like Benji Marshall. But he was someone I looked at basically from 2005 when he really won the comp for the Tigers up until even now. Probably I still love Benji.
He definitely developed his game to keep it very exciting. Did you try the Benji step a lot when it was hot? I know. Like I played rugby league as well, and I tried the step, and I just couldn't step for shit. That was not my strong point.
I played in the front row in rugby, mate. I tried the step, tried the goosey, just never materialised, but definitely captivated kids around the world. Around the rugby league world from that point in time.
A funny story: my little brother was actually in a good Division 1 in rugby league, playing for Glenmore Park. He's playing with Sione Katoa's brother. And they were all like in this core group, kind of like Penrith are at the moment at their peak. And they're just all in the rep sides. So he was in a good position to possibly go further. But he did his ACL trying to do a goosey. So Danny Kemp has obviously made the goosey very popular, but yeah, so he does not play rugby league anymore. So that's a story for you.
Yeah, my rugby career, quote unquote, ended. I had a compound break in my knee, did my MCL, PCL, and ACL. I was in a halo for a fair while. So, yeah, the knee just basically buckled and went through the skin, which is what a compound break does. And that was the end of it for me. And actually been cleared about 3 months ago. So it's been 6 years since that injury, and I've only just been cleared now to get back and play like some touch or some Oztag or whatever. So looking forward to that next year.
Very good. So you said you got bullied a lot in high school. How has that affected you today?
I'm in a weird cross point in my life, mate. Like I've now realized a lot of the things that I've been neglecting for so long, and now is the step forward for me. I've booked myself into a psychiatrist. I go see a psychologist every week. Like that is fantastic for me. But the big step was understanding the events that took place and not blaming anyone, not blaming high school kids, because kids are cruel. Like some things shouldn't have been said, but I probably shouldn't have done some things I did as well. Like it's a hand-in-hand thing. But yeah, looking back on it, it didn't set me up fantastically moving forward. It really, really knocked confidence issues and anxiety and just your self-worth. Anyone that's ever been bullied, whether it be a one-day thing or you're going through it for 5 or 6 years, knows how much it affects sort of your self-worth and self-confidence. And I'm all for a little bit of hazing and I guess making a man or whatever they want to call it, but there's a difference, and at times it did become borderline abusive.
So obviously now you've identified it. You're moving on with your life. After high school, how was that for you? Did you deal with any struggles after that?
Yeah. Went to uni for 6 or so months, and I guess everything that just built up from high school continued to form. And I left and dropped out of uni, whatever, went and got a job, moved back home or whatever, and met someone, and we were together for probably a good 12 months. I'm going to try not to cry here. Everything was going fantastic. We unexpectedly fell pregnant, which is cool. We were developing for that, and then at 33 weeks, had a stillbirth. So the partner of my unborn child had to give birth to basically a dead fetus, and that it's something that doesn't go away from you. Like you look at it, just looks so helpless, and like life just looks so meek at times. That was probably one of the lowest points, and then like she really struggled to overcome that. About a month later, I left for work, regular morning like all. She was just having some time off, obviously, with everything that had transpired, and we weren't living together, but I was over there in the morning, and then finished work at about 5:30. Was calling her, no answer. 6:30, no answer. 7 o'clock, no answer. So very unlike her. So I decided to take a drive around. Her car was there. All her lights were on. The front door was unlocked. Everything was good. I walked into the house. Sung out, didn't hear anything. The bathroom light was upstairs. And walked upstairs and found her hanging from the ceiling. Pretty much the doctor's report said that it had happened anywhere from half an hour to an hour after I left for work. So that, that was tough.
I really hate seeing someone like yourself having to bring back past experiences like that, but like that must have been awful, man. And
unfortunately, those kind of things, you'll never ever go away from them. Like they'll never ever leave you, and it's burned in the back of my mind. Like there's no amount of counselling or therapy or whatever that can undo that moment. You can just learn from it, and become a better person for it. But yeah, that was probably the lowest 4 weeks of my life that I think I'll ever go through. Unfortunately, that was being 20. That was rock bottom for me. 18 to 20 are supposed to be some of the best years of your life, but you just felt like you're picking up piece after piece after piece and just trying to rebuild. And I just want people to know that it's okay to bring these things up and be emotional about it, because it's human. But yeah, you can't suppress these things that happen, and that's what I'm now dealing with now. So we're now 4 years past that, and we're finally getting to deal with those things and seeking some professional help. But the big message I want to give people listening to it is, whether it's a week after the event or 5 years after the event, to admit defeat and go see someone.
It's absolutely terrible, man. Like I've had a pretty smooth sailing ride myself, but just listening to what you've gone through already, it's really, really admiring that you're still here today, standing strong. You've picked yourself up, and you're in the position you are. How was the support from your family and just around that point? Like not only finding her, but the stillbirth is something that shouldn't be put in an afterthought, because that is a traumatizing experience by itself.
Yeah. I became a recluse. I didn't speak to anyone for probably a good 6 months. I don't think my family knew. my family didn't really know I was sort of back home. I just came back after uni, and like all rebellious 20-year-olds, like you just want to do things alone, and just kept it to myself, and didn't seek any kind of professional help. Just went on with what I had to go on with. Bills had to get paid. Like, just working like a shitty casual job. I had no qualifications, no anything. I was doing just regular labor work, so things had to get done, and that was a really bad. Events can't get changed, but how we can treat events can be. If I had my time over again, you need to go fix yourself, Josh. Like, you can't just go back to work the next day, and that's exactly what I did. I was with the authorities most of the night because that's what has to get done. But yeah, 6 o'clock next morning, I was back at work and just pretended like nothing happened, and I continued to live like that for another 4 years, basically, which is the point we're at now. But yeah, like it's not ideal. Like, it's not the way to deal with things. Things happen, but it's how we manage them. And nowadays family's been fantastic. Like, opening up as well. Like, doesn't matter where you come from. Being a 20-year-old bloke, unfortunately, the stigma around it is ridiculous. Like, it's not normal to talk about these things, and everyone in the modern world is trying to make these things normal. But at the time, man, yeah, just shut everyone out and just tried to keep on with life. And we now know, like, with so much research into mental health, that's not the way to deal with things.
100%. And I've seen on your Twitter, you're very strong in advocating for mental health. And I think in the Supercoach world, that no one does that. So it's good to see that someone is standing up for it. So you said you went back to work the next day. Did you tell anyone at work?
No. I tried to live life like it was, and I'd go home and cry myself to sleep and wake up and repeat. And that was a cycle for another 2 years until I decided to leave Tamworth, which is where I was. And that moves us on to, I guess, the next chapter of my life is the chapter we're in now. I live in Newcastle. I live a really nice life. I'm very, very comfortable. I have a beautiful partner I've been with for 3 years, but the transition from Tamworth to Newcastle wasn't fantastic. I moved with no money. I moved with no house, no nothing. I slept in my car. Anyone that listens that's from the Newcastle area, I slept basically on Merewether Beach for about 4 weeks until I could find a house. I found a room on Gumtree. It cost me $130 a week. I was on unemployment, and that paid for it. And eventually found our feet. We got into a nice job, and I went back to studying. But yeah, like the transition, I think just getting yourself away from that sort of environment. And Tamworth is a small town. It has like 40,000 people, and once word gets around, it spreads pretty quickly, and everyone sort of knew me for what happened, and you just had to get away from there.
100%. So you moved to Newcastle. You're homeless. I mean, I've had to sleep in my car because, like, I was on a trip to Adelaide, and, like, we just wanted to stop in the middle of the night, and that was bloody hard as it was. I couldn't imagine having to do it for living. Like, what was the hardest thing about that?
Feeling safe at night. It wasn't the cold or the heat or the uncomfortability of a backseat of a sedan. It was the fact that knowing that, like, at any moment someone could just break in and smash a window, hurt you, and whatever. That was the troubling thing. Like, that was the scariest thing as well. But we inevitably, like I said, found some money and saved up, and people have it way worse than I had it, sleeping in a car, but it's not something you're accustomed to, and it was makes you appreciate the things that you have now. Like, I said to you off air, I just purchased $1,000 mixer and a microphone combo. Like, I couldn't even afford $5 worth of chips and bread like 3 years ago. Yep. So you appreciate the things you have now way more for it. And I've said this phrase 4 or 5 times in this podcast, but you learn from it. Like, you learn these things, and you start to appreciate what you have, and you start to understand that people have it way worse than you. And it's, for them, it's not just a 4-week phase. For them, unfortunately, being homeless is a lifestyle, or battling mental health issues is a lifestyle. And that's the thing that sort of, I guess, was my motivation, is knowing that it's not all that bad. I'm still here. I'm still breathing. I'm still breathing. Like, I've got a car. Like, if I have a car, I've got a way, and
Yeah.
that's the way I looked at it.
Yeah. So after that, when did you meet your partner that you're with now?
Like a week before I decided to eventually just pack up and leave.
Yep.
We were just talking, nothing serious, and then never told her that I had no house. I just had to keep making up excuses to why we couldn't hang out for the first month, and then inevitably, like I said, got a really shitty paying job, got enough money to get a room in like some shared accommodation, and then like we've been together ever since, and we moved in together 18 months ago. And yeah, the story arc is good because like for anyone listening to this that is going through a really rough time, listen to me when I say this. It gets better. It does get better, no matter how dark it may seem. Like things turn around, and yeah, you've got to put in some work, but it all comes around. And I'm very, very thankful for her for one, saving me, and two, thankful to myself for not giving up. And yeah, there's plenty of times where the worst could have happened. We could have thrown our toys out of the pram, and I might not have been here to sit here and do this interview with you.
Really appreciate that you are. So you're really happy, you're really comfortable today. I mean, that's just, it's awesome to hear considering what you come from. In between being homeless and where you are today, have you dealt with anything else?
Obviously, my eyesight. I think a lot of people know that follow me.
Yeah.
Just a genetic disease that was not really picked up on until I was sort of 21. And I've got a condition what's called keratoconus. So basically, my eye, instead of it being a semicircle like most people are, it has deformed into a cone, which can't be seen by the human eye, but it shows up on radars and whatever. So whenever light hits it, it distorts rather than being condensed. And yeah, I was on a wait list for probably 2 years to get a transplant, a corneal transplant. And we got that midway through this year. And that's been fantastic. Like it's given me a little bit of vision back. Not anything perfect, but enough to live each day.
Yep.
Enough to do this while I'm off work. Like that's been the biggest thing is having this outlet to make content and to keep my mind ticking while we're going through our own mental health journey, but also going through a physical health journey. That's been a challenge because you face the reality of never having vision again. But we've got a little bit, and a little bit's better than none, I keep thinking.
For sure. I know at the start of the year you said you weren't working because of your eye, and this was a very good distraction. And I got to say, this sort of distraction is the best distraction because you set your own goals and you just strive for them, and you're constantly working every day at it. You're thinking about it every day. And I don't know about you. You probably think about it more than I do. Maybe not at the moment, but how has it been keeping your mind off things by using your platform?
Fantastic. Like one thing I've learned from seeking some medical help, I've now been diagnosed with ADHD as an adult, which explains a lot from a younger age, being very just like awkward in social situations and having an outlet to keep your mind active. Not so much from a mental health standpoint, but just from just wandering, being bored. I don't know about you, mate. This will go out before the draw's released, but just making a couple of graphics for tomorrow when they get done. So like just doing that each day. I know I've spent this off season just making stuff for next year. Like every day I've just decided to sit down and be like, hey, this is my goal for today. I'm going to make a template as to what we're going to put out next year. And
yep.
You just do that. You do that enough times, and then a couple of months go by, and we're back into the season. I mean, we're now in November. Supercoach is going to open probably 6 weeks from now, which is exciting times. But it goes quick, doesn't it?
I can't wait till that December, January period. You haven't dealt with it before, but when you started your page, that's like the prime time to get like followers and likes. Yeah. Then so you'll get a new wave of supporters, and it's just like. It's the best. It's so good.
How good are the team sends? If I had to review one more team in like July last year, I was gonna, because I always said, but the one thing I'm gonna do to grow is I'm gonna answer every single DM. Unfortunately, I started getting upwards of 200 DMs a day.
Oh yeah.
But that was rough. My missus is so thankful that like the season's over, because every second minute my phone was going off and I have to stop and answer it. But I think we're gonna reel back on that this year a little bit. I think hopefully people understand that I can't get to every single team reveal. I can't answer whether you should buy Tom Trbojevic in round 24. I think the season's long gone when you're doing that.
Yeah, I agree. So I guess back onto the sport. That's what we're here for. I mean, it's been awesome listening to your story regardless, but the sport over the last few years, it's been probably a big part of my life. I'm sure it's been a big part of your life. What has been your favorite moment in sport in, let's say, the last 3 years?
Christ.
So you follow a few sports, don't you?
Yeah, I'm a huge NFL fan, a huge EPL fan. I know a little bit about I know a little bit about a lot, but those three are the ones that I follow the most, especially when it comes to fantasy or Supercoach or whatever. I like sports that have a line in the sand. So like your NFL, most games are on a Sunday. EPL, most games are on a Saturday. NRL, it starts on a Thursday, finishes on a Sunday. Like the thing I can't get behind with NBA or BBL or whatever. Like there's just it's always happening, which is good if you know what you're doing, but I don't. Like I've made a BBL team this year for the first time.
Yeah.
I've got no idea how that's gonna go, but it'll give me a reason to watch. But back to my favorite sporting moment. Christ, like there's a few. Off the top of my head, like it's not 3 years ago, but Mitchell Johnson, that Ashes series, like that whole series as itself, like that was. I was in year 12 at the time. Like that was just a great escape. Like just to see the rise and fall of Mitchell Johnson. Like remember when he came onto the scene, like he took 7 for against South Africa in his first game, I'm pretty sure, but then really struggled for a good 3 or 4 years and then it came back with a vengeance. So it's not 3 years ago, but I would probably say that Ashes series just in general.
Super inconsistent he was. Like I know he got that 7 far, but I wouldn't say I never rated him, but I never rated him as a type of test bowler. I thought he was a good strike bowler, but I think he just always sprayed them. They were always on leg side. They were too short, and he just never. But that series, oh my God, I think that pretty much that series defined his career.
Yeah.
And
just that 10 innings over the whole series, that's just where it all came together.
Yeah,
and it just. Another cricket shout out, I guess Peter Siddle's hat trick. That's all time as well. Like that's fantastic.
I really loved Peter Siddle at the start, but then I was kind of off him after a while.
Well, yeah, because he just kept getting picked over over the guys we've got now.
Yeah,
that's been frustrating to see like Pat Cummins and Josh Hazlewood like not reach their full potential. Like they'll go down as fantastic bowlers. Don't get me wrong, but like when they were 2021, man, like the world was their oyster.
Yeah.
Same with James Pattinson, who's just retired as well.
I still think they've got a long time to come. Like they're definitely going to probably have more of a career than James Pattinson, who I think he's definitely been wasted because of injury. But back to Mitchell Johnson, like I think it all came together then. He was massively hyped before he came onto the Australian team as well. So sometimes it just makes you think like, these people are hyped for a reason and you've kind of got to stick with them. Like at the moment, it's Cameron Green. He hasn't really proven himself on the international level, but maybe if you just stick by him, have a bit of faith, he might come good. Shane Watson, Mitchell Marsh with the same things.
Will Pucovski, I think he might go down as another one that maybe didn't quite get there just because of issues that he can't control.
Yeah.
Like, I'm not for 1 minute putting this down to Will Pucovski, but this might go down as what could have been another Phil Hughes. Obviously, very different situations, but like the world was both those kids' voices. And I hope to God that Will Pucovski comes back and is a test batsman for Australia for the next 10 years. But it's worrying signs to start with.
You talk about Phil Hughes. Where were you and how do you remember it when you got the news? We're not far away. We're about 3 weeks away from the anniversary of it.
My mum's family grew up in Maxville and were very close with the Hugheses in terms of their parents. Phil was always in Sydney playing cricket or whatever, but I got to meet their parents. I got to go to Phil's house just because my uncle was close with them. Like that I remember it pretty well. Like I was in my bedroom. I was just playing Xbox, and I remember Dad yelling out to me. I didn't see the ball live, but I just saw paramedics surrounding him, and it went on for probably an hour. Like he was out in the middle there for probably an hour, and you never know how bad things are going to be. But if a cricketer gets hit, it's probably normally like a 5-minute, 10-minute look at by the doctor, and they might retire hurt and walk off on their own merit. But yeah, it wasn't good. And then just the outpour, like I will never forget Michael Clark's speech at his funeral. That crushed me because I loved Michael Clark.
Yeah, same.
Like I was playing cricket. I was playing rep cricket the day he got his 329 in Sydney, and I love that. I will go back and watch those highlights even now, and to see him so crushed because you could just tell they were close as well. Like it wasn't even sad. It was just it's hard to explain. Like you just felt empty.
I was a massive cricketer. Cricket was my life at that point.
You still are, mate. I watched the highlights video. You and Timmy still got some kick in the arm.
Yeah, I hadn't bowled in about probably 8 months then. So bowling to Timmy definitely makes me look a lot quicker than I am. But yeah, at the time, I was just so shocked because I did follow the Sheffield Shield very closely. So like I was watching it. I think Sean Abbott went to my school as well. So I think I just felt really connected and I felt like I was on the field with them at the time. I don't want to say like I was on the field, but like it just made me feel, I don't know, maybe everyone felt like this, but it felt like one of their teammates, it happened to one of their teammates.
I played cricket that weekend. I played fourth grade on synthetic ground in Tamworth, like the lowest form of cricket you can play. But like, even then, it felt weird.
Yeah,
like, it was just, even if you didn't know Phil Hughes, even if you never met him, even if you just started watching cricket that day, like it just felt different. Like from moving forward. And another one, Sean Abbott. Like we talk about Mitchell Johnson coming back from controversy, whatever. But I didn't give Sean Abbott a chance after that, and so good to see him come back and end up playing for Australia as well.
He's played well too. He's definitely lived up to his potential. So it's good to see him back and firing. But yeah, that weekend we played cricket on a turf pitch that weekend actually. And there was 408 Hughes spray painted on the grass. And I don't know, it just felt wrong playing. Like I was scared to play cricket because I knew that happened. I was scared to face a short ball. No one bowled short balls that day. So I was thankful for that. I think everyone was kind of scared to bowl short balls just in general. I remember the next day, I think it was England versus India. There wasn't a short ball bowled. Or no, it was New Zealand versus India. There wasn't a short ball bowled. So I played against 60-year-old blokes that just bowled dollies all day, and I was scared to go out and bat. Like, like it was just one of those, like, and that'll go down forever, I guess, in Australian sport infamy. It's just. I guess we went back to our favourite sporting moments. I've got to say mine is 2015 Grand Final, Cowboys versus the Broncos. I've got to say, I think the moment Michael Morgan flicked the ball to Kyle Felt and Kyle Felt scored, I think that moment gave me the tingles the most when just in between that and Jonathan Thurston kicking the goal. Like I remember feeling just all these shivers down my back, just knowing, oh, what a position to be in. Kick from the sideline for the grand final. Like, this is epic. Like, this is every kid's dream. It was.
I have a question for you. I have a question for you with that grand final.
Yeah.
Would that grand final have been better if JT made the kick?
Yeah. 100%. I think
it was I still think it's the best grand final that I've ever seen, but I think it could have been just that little bit more if JT hits that. But I think people forget. I think there was a tackle about 40 minutes down the field beforehand.
Yeah.
That the Broncos knocked it on. I think the Cowboys defense got the turnover.
Yeah. And
that's what got the Cowboys to go forward to get that Michael Morgan play.
Yeah, I actually think it was quite a bland game. I was really Andrew McCulloch kept kicking the ball out to
you only remember that grand final for the last 5 minutes.
Yeah,
but what a 5 minutes.
Yeah, for sure. Best 5 minutes in history, but like it really got really boring towards the end. But because it was close, I still kept watching. And the fact that it ended up the way it did, controversial opinion though, Anthony Milford or Jake Granville should have got the Clive Churchill.
I've always said, and I've said it in the group chats that we're a part of, if Ben Hunt doesn't drop that ball, Anthony Milford,
100%. 100%. 100%.
Another good moment that I guess we'll talk about, and you and I both run Supercoach podcasts, so people would have heard these exact words come out of our mouths many times, but I don't think we'll ever see the 2021 season again from Tom Trbojevic, from anyone. Like, that was unreal.
Much better than the Barber, the Hayne. I know people argue saying
hot take. No, Turbo's was clear by far, and people want to say the rules or whatever.
Yeah,
I'm not having it.
But like, look at the stats. The stats overtook everybody's stats, and he only played 15 games. Like, if he played 25 games, it would never happen again. I'm just speechless. Like 30.
The thing that really sets it for me, it's not the 400,000 tries or the try assists he scored. It was the game against Melbourne where Manly got battered. Turbo had a quote unquote quiet night. He had 4 line break assists that night. That is what tips it over the edge for me. Yeah. And that sounds silly because you can point to the tries and the try assists or whatever, but like the fact that on his worst night he had 4 line break assists.
Yeah, I agree. I kept saying to people, he does perform against good sides, but I think he's kind of in a team where it all falls on him, but it's always going to fall on him no matter what the result is. And his team kind of lets him down sometimes. But
in saying that, though, like we say that Turbo season's the best ever. Before I mentioned that I was a Queenslander, and I grew up across the decade of dominance. No one player has scared me more to break that dominance than Jared Hayne in that time frame. And that sounds silly, but Turbo wasn't in a position to break the game open.
Yeah.
Like the way that he could in that rep series. So as a Queenslander, I always worried when Hayne got the ball. And I'll never forget, I can't remember what year it was, but he went down the sideline and it went to video replay for probably a good 15 minutes. And in the end, he had like that blade of grass on the boot.
Yeah.
And if he scores that, I think the game changes drastically.
Yeah.
But I remember that pretty frequently as well. Like Jared Hayne down the sideline, barely out by the skin of his teeth in an Origin series.
I think it's very different these days because New South Wales have such firepower throughout their side, whereas Jared Hayne in that time, like Josh Dugan was the fullback or the other centre, and Brett Morris
was captain off the bench.
Yeah, it was quite a dull period for New South Wales, and I guess that pretty much like Queensland's dominance, did that come from a poor New South Wales side or did that come from them being freaks of God? I think it's slightly a bit of both, but I think it's more New South Wales being poor. I mean, it's not more, but I think we got to give a bit less credit to Queensland because of New South Wales' poorness.
Yeah, I think we've had this discussion multiple times in many chats we've been a part of. Like, do we take what was the peak of Queensland? Let's say like 2012, 2013. Like, we take that side against the current New South Wales side, who wins? And you'll never get a cohesive answer because Queenslanders will tell you black and the blue until it's 2012, 13, and New South Wales will tell you that it was this year. But another great Origin moment, Tedesco down the sideline a couple of years ago. That broke my heart. Blake Ferguson, Tedesco, that link up, that hurt.
Was that game?
That was the moment, I think, like where you just knew that it was going to be turned on. And I think Queensland are going to go through a really low period for the next couple of years. Obviously got guys like Reece Walsh and Sam Walker coming through, Harry Grant as well, but they're still very young. And Queensland will have their time in the sun again, but I don't think it'll be for another 5 or 6 years.
Yeah, I agree. I guess, okay, moving on. That's pretty much it. What's the goal from here on out for the Supercoach Whisperer? Have you got any plans personally and for your page?
No, I think just doing more of the same last year, but doing it better, making it look better, whatnot. Obviously got Brew coming on. We've rebranded the podcast. That's big. At times last year, I felt like it was a chore, but yeah, just doing much of the same last year, but doing a little bit of video content here or there, maybe chucking a live stream or whatnot. I'm back at work a couple of days a week now, which is fantastic. I'm back at work 2 days a week, working from home. So might not have all the time in the world to devote to what I had for Supercoach, but we've still got a jam-packed schedule coming up, and I'm really excited for the podcast more than anything. Like that's something that I've never seen someone so keen in Brew to do it. So it's always good to have a counterpart that is as keen as it on it as I guess you are.
I guess just wait till the season, and he won't wait. He won't wait till it could end because.
Oh no, round 20, mate. I'm sure you'll vouch for this. Round 20 onwards, they were some tough times.
It's such a grind, isn't it? It's
And we're all out of trades. Like there's just nothing to talk about.
and it's like
it's basically Captain Turbo and do whatever.
Yeah, exactly. But thanks for coming on, and I'm sure you'll be on the Supercoach Experience podcast a few times leading up to the start of the season. I think the crossovers are very good leading into the season. So I'll be happy to have you on then. And yeah, thanks for coming on.
No, man, I appreciate you letting me come on, have a bit of a cry, telling people it's okay to not be okay, and that's the main message I want to tell people. Like, there's so much help out there. There's so many resources, and hell, if you need to shoot me a message, I'm sure people that are listening to this know who I am. So, chuck me a message. Like, I'm happy to talk to people. Like, all it takes is just to be pushed over the edge to fix the things you need to be fixed on. And I know everyone says that New Year's resolutions happen, but yeah, really looking forward to next year, man. Not from just a professional level in the Supercoach world, but more so a personal level as well. Like, it's being happy to wake up every day, being happy to go out and do things. Like I said, I live in Newcastle and I live near the beach. I live near one of the best beaches in the country, and just taking advantage of that and just getting those endorphins out. And I encourage people to do the same.
100%. We're going to be up in Newcastle very shortly, me, Mike, and Jake and Tim, and we'll come visit you.
Oh, we'll be going for a beer or 10, mate, I'm sure.
We'll go to Newcastle Leagues Club if that's what it is.
Yeah, right. Westies. You might see. I was going to say you'd see Connor Watson. He's a regular there, but he's taken off.
Oh no, he's gone. He's come down our way. All right. Thanks for coming on, and yeah, good luck.
Thanks, man. Cheers.